Hello everyone, it's Becca from Becca Books and Bujo, and today we are talking through the 10 books I read in the month of April. So let's start with my favorite part, stats. I love to talk numbers, so we will talk through the numbers of my reading for the month of April. I have my computer here to tell me all of these numbers because I can't have them all memorized, so sorry if I'm looking away from you. First, I read 10 books, and I also did not finish one book. So 11 books I actually touched this month, but 10 of them I finished. And that amounted to 3,034 pages. So a smaller page count for sure this month, but that's okay. As far as genre, one of them was a classic, 2 of them were contemporaries, 2 of them were historical fiction, 1 was a memoir, 1 was a mystery, 1 was a nonfiction, 1 was a poetry collection, and 1 was a thriller. For audience, 8 of the books I read were geared toward adult, 1 was a young adult, and 1 was a middle grade. And finally, the format that I consumed these books, 2 of them were strictly physical, 5 of them were audiobooks, 1 was an ebook, and 2 was a combination between listening and physically reading. My average rating for the month of April was a 3.85. This is definitely my lowest so far of the year. And if you look at my average rating for the year so far, it's a 4.1. So I am pleased to say that I'm still above that 4-star category. But this month maybe gave it a little bit of a hit with a 3.85. So now I am going to talk about these books from worst to best. And there definitely was a worst, my DNF, and there definitely was a best, the best book that I've read this month, and definitely will be on my favorites for the year. Okay, so let's start with the DNF, and that is Something Borrowed by Emily Giffin. I'm so sad, first of all, because John Krasinski is on the cover, and maybe I'll watch the book, or watch the movie. Wow, that ring really looks like mine. Whoa, you guys, can we just I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. That's a total side tangent. Sorry. Okay. Something Borrowed by Emily Giffin. This book I had to stop reading because we follow 2 friends, Rachel, yep, and Darcy. Darcy is engaged, and Rachel sleeps with Darcy's fiance. Wait, no, yeah, that's it. Yeah, and the cheating right away at the beginning, and basically both of them have no remorse over it, and the fact that she's not going to tell her friend that this happened, it just hit a little bit too close to home, and I just, I couldn't deal with the cheating storyline. So I had to put this one down, and I don't think I will go back to it. But now I'm curious because there's 2 men on this cover. So I don't know where the second man comes in, or whether John Krasinski was the cheater or he was the cheater. But that's the movie. Anyway, okay. So this was my DNF. I will be selling this book or just donating it, but I just couldn't deal with the cheating. Next, we're going to a 2-star, and this is my classic for the month. This is The Swiss Family Robinson by Johann David Weiss, and I buddy read this with Naomi from Naomi's Bookshelf. Is that what your name is, Naomi? I hope so. And I had a really great time chatting about this book with Naomi, but I did not have a great time reading this book. First of all, it was written in 1812 or something, so just very old. Second of all, it was way overly explained. This dad, okay, the story of the Swiss Family Robinson. Let's start there. This family, dad and mom and 4 boys, get deserted on an island, and they have to learn how to live on the land. Anyway, this dad happens to know everything and decides to tell everyone everything and how he knows those things and perfectly state it so that we all understand. It just, it was a little much. yeah, got to be too much. And what Naomi said really worked well in my brain. It was just a little bit too convenient that they were on a ship heading toward colonization. And so they had all the supplies they needed on their ship. And their ship got stuck to the side of the island for a while. So they were able to get everything they needed. And yeah, it was just a little bit convenient that he knew everything he needed to know to create a really great life for them on this deserted island, completely marooned. Yeah, I listened to it while I was at a family cabin, and so it was nice to just kind of pop in when I was playing with my kids or working on a puzzle, but definitely not the best time that I had with this classic. Jumping up to a 3-star read. I don't have the physical book with me, but I read Spare by Prince Harry, and I know that this is a little bit controversial and that people think that the royals shouldn't be airing their dirty laundry, and yeah, I just wanted to know. I'm a little bit of a gossip, and I also have always had this draw toward royalty, and like I loved movies like The Prince and Me, where the prince tries to hide in normal society, or I've loved Chasing Liberty, where the daughter of the president again tries to hide and doesn't want to be known and wants to escape the paparazzi. And so yeah, I wanted to pick this up mostly because I was just curious about what Prince Harry had to say. So this basically starts from the time that Princess Diana died all the way to present day for Prince Harry. And the overarching theme is that the paparazzi ruined Prince Harry's life. I totally feel for anybody who is in the spotlight that their lives are not secret. There's no way that they can escape the public eye. And so I really felt bad for him, and especially, I mean, his mother died being chased by paparazzi. So that was pretty traumatic. And then having paparazzi do kind of terrible things to his girlfriend, who is now his wife, Meghan. Obviously, the paparazzi are not kind to Prince Harry from the way that he puts it. Again, this is his perspective, and I'm relaying it to you from his perspective. But then my question is, if you want to get out of the spotlight so much, Prince Harry, why did you decide to write a book? But then on the other hand, I'm just like playing my own devil's advocate here. He wanted his story heard, which I totally think is valid. Everybody's story is 100% true to themselves, and Prince Harry has the right, I have the right, everyone has the right to get their story out there and heard. And so I gave this a 3-star because, number one, I don't really know why most of the stories he told were necessary. This was a 410-page book, everyone. And yes, he has lived a lot of life, but I don't need to go into the nitty-gritty with some of the medical issues he had involving an appendage. And I don't need to go on every single army combat thing that he went on. Well, that some of it was interesting. It just like really needed to be edited down. I really liked once we got to his relationship with Meghan and being able to see what went into their decision on abdicating the crown. I maybe didn't follow that as well when it was happening in 2020, 2021. But yeah, I enjoyed my time with it, mostly because I was listening to Prince Harry read it, and he has a very nice British accent. Anyway, that was Spare. I'm glad I read it. Glad I got his perspective on the whole ordeal, but it could be shorter. That's all I have to say. Okay, next I picked up Esperanza Rising by Pam Munoz Ryan. And if you have followed me and watched all of my middle grade March vlogs, you would know that I picked this up in March, but couldn't complete it in March because the copy I got from the library had a misprint. And so I was so mad. I was going to be able to finish that at the end of March, and I wasn't able to. And then I finally got a copy through Libby. So I was able to pick back up where I left off and finish my time with Esperanza. So in this story, we have a young Mexican girl who is living on a grape farm with her mother and father. Her name is Esperanza. And tragically, her father is killed, and her mother and her and their friends, who are also their servants, need to flee the country in order to survive, basically, or to live any sort of life with freedom. And so they escape their town and cross the border from Mexico into the United States and start working on some migrant farms in California. During the Dust Bowl, it made me think of The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna a lot, because they talked about the Okies, and the main character in The Four Winds came from Oklahoma to work in California. So it just was interesting to see those parallels. Anyway, I think the main point of this book is that you just have to keep hope alive, because a lot of terrible and tragic things can happen, but when you have hope, it makes things a little bit easier. At first, I was really annoyed by our main character, Esperanza. She was an entitled little girl. She lived a very rich and cushy life in Mexico. And when they got to California, she was just like, Mom, why are you talking to these peasants? Mom, why are you wearing clothes like that? Mom, how can we expect to live like this? And I get it. We were supposed to see that arc of Esperanza growing and fully realizing what she came from and how good she had it to what she ended up having to live with. But she was just a little whiny, and I was like, girl, your mother is doing the best she can, and you're gonna have to get used to it. Which she did get used to it, and she actually had to buck up and work for her mother and try to keep her family alive through working herself. So yeah, I gave this one 3.5 stars. It definitely was good, and I liked the story, but it just wasn't peak story for me. Anyway, I'm glad I picked it up, but I do remember liking Echo by Pam Munoz-Ryan much better than this one. Next, we're into the 4-star category, and I had 5 4-star reads. Is that right? Yeah, so it's kind of hard to rank the worst 4-star to the best 4-star, but we'll see what we can do. This one, it's hard to rank because it's a collection of poetry, but we've got The Hurting Kind by Ada Limon, and I did give this 4 stars on Goodreads, but this is a collection of poems that really focuses on nature and how we as humans interact with nature. The main point that I think this author was trying to get across, and I actually talked about this one with my book club last night, and so it's still resonating with me, is witness. The word witness, and how we as humans witness nature, but then also how we as humans just long to be witnessed. We long to be seen. And so there were some really significant sayings in some of these poems that really stuck with me, and being able to chat about them with my book club was really nice. This was the first poetry collection that I've ever read with a book club, so I enjoyed it. And I thank my friend Alexa for picking this. You've met Alexa. If you've watched my channel, you've met Alexa. But this is just totally up her alley with nature. She loves to be outdoors, and her backyard is a forest, and she loves to, in one of these poems, it talks about making sure you give birds their names and give flora their names. So call a tree what it is. And that's just totally Alexa. She knows the names of all of the birds and knows exactly what tree that is over there. And so I thank Alexa for having me read it, and I'm glad that we discussed it. This theme of witnessing, but also being witnessed, will really stick with me from this collection. Next 4-star is Infinite Country by Patricia Engel. This one follows a young girl, a teenager, named Talia, and she is in a correction facility in Colombia. And she, at the very beginning, escapes this facility and is actually trying to escape her country to be reunited with her family in the United States. And we get the background as to why her family is in the United States and why she is in Colombia. But I think the main point of this one is that immigrants don't always get to choose where they are and why they are there. And we just need to be a little bit more accepting of immigrants and try to understand where they're coming from and why they are coming from it. we don't always know the story, and this gives us a really good story of one family. I really enjoyed hearing Talia's story, but then we go into her parents' background much more in depth and understand why they took their family from Colombia to the United States, and then why our main character Talia is back in Colombia. It was really good and a compelling read. Let me see. This was just so long ago that I feel like I need to see what I said in my reading journal. So I wrote, we see the immigrants' story in this book and the utter terror that they live in constantly, scared they could be deported at any moment. I'll just leave it at that. That was Infinite Country by Patricia Engel, a short little book, but packed a punch. Another one I don't have physically, but this is Finlay Donovan Knocks 'Em Dead by El Casamano. This is the second in the Finlay Donovan series. I read the first, I think, back in November or October, and loved Finlay Donovan is Killing It, the first one. And Finlay Donovan Knocks 'Em Dead is just as funny, maybe a little bit less than the original Finlay Donovan, but still a really good time, and I enjoyed it a lot. So without giving too much away, I will tell you, I guess I'll tell you the premise of the first book, Finlay Donovan is Killing It. If you don't know about this yet, I feel like you don't watch any videos on YouTube then. But Finlay Donovan is meeting with her agent. She is an author, and she's meeting with her agent, telling her about her ideas for her next story. And they are in a Panera Bread, and someone overhears them and thinks that Finlay is a killer for hire, and employs Finlay to kill her husband. And it just like is so funny. Finlay and her nanny turned partner Vero, they just like get into all these shenanigans, and they don't actually do any killing, but the people hiring them think that they did, and the police think that they didn't, and it just like is so funny and comical, but also thrilling because there's murder and some kind of shady people involved. Now, in the second one, Finlay Donovan Knocks 'Em Dead, she finds that someone will pay money to kill her ex-husband. And so she is trying to figure out who this person is, why they want to kill her ex-husband, but then also being worried for her ex-husband and her children who are spending time with her ex-husband. So this one is fun, still funny with Vero and, is that how you say it? Vero and Finlay. Their relationship is just so funny, and the way that they support each other is really, really sweet. But just maybe not as top tier as Finlay Donovan is Killing It. I still enjoyed my time though. So I gave 4 stars to Finlay Donovan Knocks 'Em Dead. My next 4-star, which I feel like is bad for me to say that this is a 4-star, but that is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. This is dearly beloved in the YouTube community, and I totally understand why. I really did enjoy it, and perhaps on a reread, I would love it even more. But I really sped through this one. It was a book club read with my friends, and I started it the day before book club, and I really wanted to finish it. It was my pick, for goodness sake. I needed to have finished the book. So I listened to it really fast, and I think maybe this is a book that you need to read physically. In this one, we follow the relationship between Achilles and Patroclus. I still can't remember how to say it, and every time I think I'm saying the right one, it happens to be the other. I think it's Patroclus. We'll just say that. But we see a beautiful relationship emerge between Achilles and Patroclus. I can't do it. This was the first read in April, and so I'm really forgetting. We follow Achilles and Patroclus as one of these gentlemen move on with their life and go somewhere different. The other one just like somehow winds up there, and they have this really deep friendship, which turns into more. And I really enjoyed how their relationship developed and how each character, I mean, there were times that I was like, Achilles, come on, you are too proud. Obviously, hubris is a big thing in Greek mythology, but wow, at the end of this, I don't even know how to explain it, but when you are mourning with someone on the pages because of how deeply it's shown that they're mourning, that's great writing, in my opinion. So this was good, and I think it deserves a reread from me sometime in the future. I feel like my explanations are getting worse and worse. Sorry, but this was a very early read in April, and it's been a month. And my last 4-star is Black Cake by Charmaine Wilkerson. I buddy read this with my friend Jane, and I absolutely loved being able to dissect this very deeply with Jane. This one, we follow brother and sister, Byron and Benny, as their mother has died, and they attend the reading of her will and actually listen to a recording of her telling them her story. They get the truth of her past that they've never gotten before, and they are shocked. They learn things about their mother, they learn things about themselves that they had no clue about. This was a really, really captivating novel, and it was contemporary, but also historical fiction, because we jump back into the past and see how their mother became who she was. I think mainly this book is about a mother who will do whatever is necessary for herself, first of all, but then for her children. So I really, really enjoyed this one. I did give it 4 stars for a couple of reasons. Not 5 stars, I mean. The first, it took me a long time to read. I feel like a 5-star should be like, I want to pick this up. I need to finish this now. And this, I enjoyed my time in it, but I never felt fully drawn to reading it. Secondly, there was some, like I said, there were jumps back into some historical scenes, but sometimes the author jumped like almost within a paragraph that like I just didn't understand where she was going, and I'm glad that I was reading it physically, because I feel like I would be very confused if I listened to it and didn't quite know where the author was going or where the story and these characters were going. So that's a couple of reasons why I got docked a star, but ultimately it was a really, really great story about a mother and her children and how we don't always know the full story, but we should be glad that people share their stories with us when they do. That's Black Cake. Really, really good. And now we are into the 5-star category. So the first 5-star, which is like weird to give 5 stars because it's a nonfiction, and I just really enjoyed my time with it, and I'm excited to implement it in my life. Anyway, let's get to the book. That is Fast, Feast, Repeat, The Comprehensive Guide to Delay, Don't Deny Intermittent Fasting. This is by Jen Stevens. And this is an in-depth biological look as to what intermittent fasting is and what it can do for you and your body. And I really appreciated the deep dive into what intermittent fasting is and how it affects your body systems, and what good it can do if used correctly. And I feel like it could really work for me. I am one who loves my sweets, and I want this delay, don't deny. So like if I'm really craving chocolate ice cream during a fast, well, you can have that. Just wait. Just delay it a little bit. Don't deny yourself of it. Delay it until it is your eating window, and then you can do that. And the amazing thing to me is what Jen says, that your body actually starts craving more nutritious things and more things that will give you the fuel you need during your eating window. I should say, if you don't know what intermittent fasting is, it's just, that, what it says. But you choose a window of your day, an amount of time that you are going to fast, and then a window that you are going to eat a certain amount of time that you are going to eat. And I feel like the most common that I felt like I heard in these pages was 16-8. So you fast for 16 hours and you eat for 8 hours. That 8 hours can be anywhere in your day, but I think most commonly it's in the afternoon time, 11 to 7, for example. There are many different ways to do intermittent fasting. There is the daily eating window. There is what she calls like 5-2. I can't remember what that's called, where you have like up days and down days. So on the 5 days of the week, you would eat normally. And then on 2 days, you would fast completely. You would not eat anything for those 2 days. Alternate day fasting is what it's called, up and down days. It was really fascinating to see the many different ways you can intermittent fast. And also, I think the main takeaway for me was this isn't a diet. It's more of a lifestyle. Once you fit into intermittent fasting, there's no mistake, because you just get back and continue to live this intermittent fasting lifestyle. I don't know. I'm really intrigued by it, and to see if it could help me a little bit. I'm not my healthiest, I don't think. And so I'll be interested to see if it could help me lose a little bit of weight and also just become a little bit healthier. So that is Fast, Feast, Repeat. I don't think I explained it justly, but whatever. And the last book I will be talking about today, the best book I think I read in April, and I actually have already talked about it quite a bit on my channel because it was in my favorite booktuber's favorite video, episode 2, I should say. That is Notes on an Execution by Dania Kukafka. This is about Ansel Packer. He is a gentleman who is on death row for being a serial killer. He has killed many women in his life. We get his story from his perspective, but then also from 3 different women's perspectives, women that have had an impact on his life. So we follow his mother, Lavender. We follow his childhood friend, Safi, who later goes on to be a detective in his case. And we follow Hazel. Is that her name? Hazel? Yeah, Hazel, who is twin sister to Ansel's wife. First of all, this writing is immaculate. Is this Dania Kukafka's debut? No. Best-selling author of Girl in Snow. I'll have to check out Girl in Snow to see if her writing is just as good in that. But man, compelling writing sucks you right in to the story and to the characters. And the character development is really amazing. And it's amazing how she made you care deeply about the victims, but then you care deeply about the killer and the people surrounding the killer. And it just, it was so good. And then also thrilling. It had a thrilling aspect to it, which he's going to die, right? He's on death row and that he was convicted for these murders. But when you go back in time, you're like, oh, how's it going to happen? Oh, he's hiding. He's not going to get caught. But he is. So it's just like, it's amazing how she can, get under your skin and really make you a part of this story. I absolutely love this book. I probably talk much better about it in my favorite booktuber's favorite vlog, which I'll put up here. But it was so good. And it was Katie Colson's favorite book of 2022. And I definitely could see this being on my favorite list, maybe being my top book. Who knows? Who knows what the year will bring? But this was a really amazing book. And it just adds to it that it's this beautiful color of purple. Anyway, these are the books I read in April. It was a pretty good reading month. I guess maybe not as good as my first few months, but there are some stories that will definitely stick with me from this stack. So let me know if you've read any of them and what you thought of them. It'd be great to have some conversation with you in the comments down below about these books. Thank you so much for watching. Like this video on your way out, consider subscribing to my channel if you'd like to see more bookish and bullet journaling content from me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!